Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Really excited that you guys are here for a conversation around the introduction of open banking to the US market. My name is Victoria Kunz. I am the Director of Sales at Link Financial Technology. I am joined by Rohit Mitani, the VP of Product and Data Science here at Link, as well as Anil Mahalaha, who is the Chief Evangelist at Akoya. So Rohit, I'll let you just go ahead and introduce yourself and pass over to Anil before we get things kicked off.
Thanks, Tori. Hey everyone, Rohit Mitani. I lead Product and Data Science at Link. My background is in payments. So I used to be a Director of Product at Zelle, did the whole Zelle RTP integration, and excited to talk to the team about open banking today. Anil?
Yeah, hi, my name is Anil Mahalaha. I'm Chief Evangelist, like Tori said, at Akoya. I'm actually a founding employee of Akoya. I've been in the financial space for the last 35 so odd years. In Akoya, I've played multiple roles. My most recent is the Chief Evangelist.
Amazing. Well, we've got some heavy hitters here to have a conversation with us today. So everyone, please feel free to submit questions throughout the conversation. We're leaving time for a Q&A at the end, so please feel free to ask anything and everything. So guys, just to get things started, let's first get an understanding of what is open banking. What is the actual definition, advantages, disadvantages, and how do you see this as a whole? Anil?
Yeah, so as far as the definition of open banking is concerned, or actually a term open finance, which encompasses a broader swath of the financial institutions like insurance, brokerage, retirement, what really means is that the end user has access to their data, to their financial data that they can share with a third party and get access to a broader range of digital solutions and tailored services. So that's really the definition. As far as the advantages of open banking or open finance is concerned, the end user is free to use best of breed financial solutions available in the market, and then the market competes and innovates on these financial products. And at the end of the day, the end user benefits from the competition that's out there. As far as disadvantage is concerned, one that comes to mind is that the financial institutions are heavily regulated. And once the data leaves these traditional financial institutions and goes out there in the unregulated space, the end user or the consumer is at a little risk where they have to watch out for nefarious actors that might be looking to misuse their financial data for personal gains. So that's a disadvantage that comes to mind.
Great, thank you. And I guess, secondly, what are some of the open banking use cases, Rohit? Where do you see this applicable, in the consumer market?
Well, sorry, I can probably think about 100 plus use cases, but just in interest of time, let me list top 5 from my perspective, right? So number one, simple, is account aggregation. Ability to see and manage all your bank accounts in one single app or interface. With open banking, actually, banks have greater control and visibility into third parties that are accessing their clients' financial data, and actually the purpose for which the data is being used. Number two, personalization. And I'm talking personalizing products and experiences. So apps can gain access to customers' transaction data, spend patterns, when a particular customer gets paid. And this information can be used to personalize and tailor product and experiences. BNPL, right? So BNPL fintechs use the banking systems to verify consumers' identity, retrieve financial information, verify their bank accounts, actually conduct KYC checks, and make lending decisions. So BNPL is very heavily reliant on open banking. Number 4, streamlining account opening experiences. So we're talking pre-filled account opening applications, we are talking external account funding and KYC checks, all part of open banking. And last but not the least, my favorite, payment initiations, right? Think about open banking letting consumers and corporations initiate payments directly from their online banking accounts without ever the need to enter routing information. Like gone are the days where, hey, I miskeyed one single digit in my account number or routing number. So it simplifies the payment experience. So again, there are probably 100 plus use cases. These 5 we have seen a lot of traction in the market.
Amazing. Yeah, open banking is obviously applicable in so many different ways. And just to kind of further on that, who's behind the scenes? Who are the different players within the open banking ecosystem?
I would say there are like about 5 players in the open banking ecosystem. Number one, obviously, is the consumer, the end user, who's looking to share their data with third party. The second big player is the financial institution, where the data is coming from. They're also known as data providers. The third one is where the data is going to. So the financial technology companies or fintechs. These are the players that get the data and then they use the data to provide the applications actually that Rohit just talked about. Then there are these aggregators in the middle. So there are intermediaries between the financial institution and the fintechs. Akoya is one of them, and they provide the data access platform. And lastly, there's a lot of vendors in the space that the aggregators and fintechs work with that they use to add value to the data.
Awesome. Yeah, and so obviously open banking is created its establishment in Europe. It's got the largest share of market there. So Rohit, can you tell us a little bit more about that open banking journey in Europe? What is PSD2 in Europe, and a little bit more information about PSD3?
Absolutely, and I think Europe can claim to be the cradle of open banking. Frankly, like they are leading, but Europe is a very regulatory-driven market, right? The PSD2, also known as Payment Service Directive, it actually went into effect in 2018, Jan 2018, and that is the governing standard for open banking in European Economic Area. Like I'm talking all EU countries exclude Switzerland and countries that are not affiliated, but still the landscape in EU is very fragmented. Readiness varies across the region. I was reading an open banking readiness index, and actually the Nordic countries, so Denmark, Norway, Sweden, are actually the most advanced in terms of their open banking ecosystems and payment services, closely followed by Germany, France, and Spain. However, the account banking use is still lower, and account-to-account payment schemes are still in their infancy in these 3 countries. However, looking ahead, like what's PSD2 2018, now PSD3. So EU actually has asked for responses to its consultation around PSD3 this summer, and the request is focused on payments, open finance, buy now, pay later, and transactions using crypto assets. The use case that is actually gaining the most adoption is, of course, payments.
Well, that works well in our favor. So what about open banking trends in the US? Are we there yet? How far do we have to go, Anil?
So the open banking, well, the state of the art today is screen scraping and screen scrape-based data access. That's where the vast majority of the open banking use cases are found through. But we are making progress. There's a growing realization that credential-based data access is not safe as far as the consumer is concerned, obviously, and it's also not safe for the US financial system. And actually, in Akoya's opinion, vast stores, I should say, of the consumer credentials that are stored with the aggregators for the national security threat. So, but things are improving. The API-based data access is gaining traction. It limits the data that the data receiver or the data the fintech can get, and they provide the services that the end user is looking for. But the problem with API-based access today is that it's non-standard authorization flow. Every data provider has their own authorization process or authorization flow, and there's lack of completeness of data. So those are some of the challenges that we have to overcome. But from a trend point of view, we are trending in the right direction. There's an industry-led standard by the name of Financial Data Exchange that is putting out API specs, security specs that is gaining broad traction in the industry. And also CFPB is working on rulemaking for financial data sharing space. So it's trending in the right direction.
Awesome. And Rohit, anything that you'd like to add? I mean, obviously with Link Financial, we are initially focused on the US, so would love to hear your thoughts, just to echo Anil's.
Yeah, I mean, I echo Anil's sentiments, and I think US is very market driven, which is a good thing for us. And with FDX and other consortium coming in place, I think open banking is going to get standardized. Right? I think the zone for open banking in US, and now it is up to some of us, companies like Akoya, Link, to kind of be those at the forefront of open banking. But absolutely, I can see in 2023 being like a fabulous year just for open banking in general. I do want to talk about some trends around the world, Tori, on open banking as well, right? And I was reading this report published by Platformable. I'll give you a top level vanity metric. Everybody likes vanity metrics, right? But open banking is actually expanding globally with an annual growth of 8%, which is huge, 8%. 80 countries where open banking regulations are already introduced or are in process of being introduced, 80. 75 of them are actually near or in implementation stages. So the trend is shifting towards open banking more than we anticipated. Globally, I think 85% of bank platforms claim to use open APIs. And again, like open API, right? Every bank has their own open APIs, but again, they are trending towards the right direction. One caveat is the ease of use is still a hurdle, right? They ran some developer scores and the developer experience score is still below average. So while the banks, the incumbents can claim to have these open APIs, they are different standards, hard to integrate, so more work to be done there. Anecdotally, I'll tell you, well, we like just last week, we were chatting with an open banking company in Latin America, and within the first 60 seconds, the conversation was like, yeah, we are doing screen scraping. We are doing reverse engineering of the mobile app. That kind of indicates still the infancy in some of the regions around open banking. However, the bottom line is that the world is embracing open banking with EU leading the way. 2023 is the year it'll see exciting use cases and adoption of open banking. Just a word of caution, like companies are going to throw the word open banking left and right? And the devil is always in the details. So we have to make sure that the companies that we are partnering with are not doing screen scraping, are not doing reverse mobile app engineering, but actually like Akoya, doing API-based connections. That's what true open banking is. That's where tokenized access comes in, right? So just don't get fooled by somebody just throwing open banking at you, because they might not be true open banking companies.
Yeah, very great point. And kind of just to continue on that subject. So as of now, what is the consumer sentiment and awareness about data sharing and open banking? And how can we increase that awareness and trust companies having access to this type of data?
Yeah, interesting you ask this question, because like the word open banking and the awareness around that term is still relatively low, right? As a consumer, I'm not looking for open banking companies, so I don't know that term. However, it's already embedded in several areas of our daily lives. Like you look at PFM tools, financial accounts that are getting linked, account opening, all are using open banking in some shape or form. There was a survey that was run, and 74% of consumers in the US have or would consider connecting their bank accounts if it favors them to connect to financial apps, any sort of services. 68% of those respondents in the US would do so easily to send money to someone. So payments use case, right? The key for getting awareness and trust relies on some of us, right? Like Akoya, Link. We have to simplify our end user agreements. we have to be very clear and concise in terms of the language we use to describe the value of data access. We have to provide information of what data is being fed, how long, right? Previously, it was just give me a username, password, and God help the customers, right? None of that can exist now. And we have to make it easier for our customers to manage access, not just grant access, revoke access. So again, like some of the things that we as companies can do to help our customers, absolutely needed.
Absolutely. And as this becomes more and more prevalent and consumers are getting on board, this seems to be, a very bank-powered solution. How do the banks ultimately feel about, opening their doors to share data with other companies?
I can take that. So the banks want to share the data. The banks want to serve the consumer whenever and wherever they choose to get services from. They understand that the data belongs to the end user. Banks just want to ensure that there's safe, secure, and permission data access. And first and foremost, keep the consumer's privacy in mind. And additionally, Dodd-Frank Act 1033 provides the consumer a statutory right to the information. So the banks have to share the data with the end user and anybody that the end user authorizes.
And Rohit, just, speaking from, a personal perspective, what are the risks associated with open banking? Is it safe that I'm giving my information over? What about my data privacy and protection? How is that being handled?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it is safe if it is done right. Like a lot of the companies do screen scraping, and I would not recommend those companies just yet, right? But stepping back, like all these legacy technologies, legacy companies, they've actually played a pivotal role in shaping where open banking is what it is today, right? However, now the trend has shifted. The trend is based on API connectivity model that increases security and improves data access. You need good quality access that you cannot get from screen scraping, as an example. But the experience is simple. A consumer grants permission to access their financial data to an open banking experience. It can be embedded into existing platforms, right? The bank then just issues an access token. So we are not exchanging account numbers, routing numbers. This is just, hey, give me a token, right? And that token means nothing to anyone except the parties exchanging those tokens. That is used to authenticate the sharing of the consumer's financial information with the particular app. The permission is transparent to the consumer, can be managed, revoked easily by the consumer, eliminates the need for unnecessary username, password, credentials floating in the system. So again, if done right, the risks are less, minimal. It is very safe if done right. And again, Anil, please chime in here, but like I think the way Akoya is doing it is the right way to do it, which is tokenize the access, eliminate all these credentials from the ecosystem so that there is no risk of, hey, somebody lost my username, password in transit.
Yeah, that is correct. And we'd go a step further, and these credentials are stored forever, and their data is scraped for a long time, even after the end user may have actually left the app.
Great. So sounds like, from a consumer's point of view, this is actually a much safer and more streamlined way of paying for things and leveraging, your account information with, third-party fintechs, which is amazing. So moving beyond even just, payments, how can open banking grow financial inclusion?
So with open banking, consumers have the ability to seek financial services from fintechs, that provide niche services to them. Fintechs also provide services to the unbanked and underbanked population. An example is that end user is able to use their bank data to prove worthiness for services that traditionally they are not accessible to them. There's actually a study by Experian a while back that said that 62 million Americans are what is considered thin credit profile, have thin credit profile, and out of them, 26 million have or are credit invisible. So these are customers that open banking fintechs can help and provide, transaction-based support to their financial history. And a lot of these consumers are also consumers who are new to the, to the financial services system, or maybe even new to the United States, who have good income but don't have good credit history. So open banking, open finance, with the backing of the transactions that these end users have, can help, broaden the financial inclusion.
Incredible. So just taking a holistic look at the partnership between Link and Akoya. How do Link and Akoya partner together? Can you guys, each share your perspective on the journey so far?
Anil, you want to go first?
Yeah, so anybody, especially Link, and you're interested in connecting to, starting open banking, connecting to Akoya. Akoya offers API-based permission financial data that serves, many use cases out there. Our platform is 100% OAuth API connections to financial institutions, and we currently cover about 65% of all the demand deposit accounts, I should say, in the US. And as far as credit card coverage is concerned, we have about 60% credit card coverage, and it's growing on a daily basis. And it's very easy to start on the open banking journey. The fintechs can self-register on the Akoya platform. Go to akoya.com, you'll find a link up there. And as a data recipient, you can self-register to the data recipient hub and start working on integrating your apps with our network. And then, Rohit, you talked about this, right? There's one contract you have to worry about. You sign the contract with Akoya, and once once the agreement is fully executed and from a security point of view, you pass everything, then you have access to all the banks out there. You don't have to worry about bank by bank by bank agreements.
Yeah, and thank you, Tori, to give me time for my shameless plug. But our first product is Link Pay, right? And it is an ability for a merchant to receive funds from their consumer via the bank accounts. We have SDKs, a couple of APIs. We can get merchants up and running in a couple of days at max. And what we have done so far is we've extracted all the complexities under the hood, like whether it is actually account linking is easy, right? With Akoya coming in, we didn't have to do point-to-point integration, but literally the Link Pay experience is you put a button or a widget on your checkout page. Let's say it's called Pay by Bank. The moment a consumer clicks on it, Link will take over. We will work with Akoya to create those account linkages. We'll pass the token back to you as a merchant, and the merchant can just use that token month over month, repeat transactions just to process payments. And again, all the complexity of money movement, linking, we abstract from the merchant, making it easier for them to embed us in their checkout experience. We have not reinvented the wheel in terms of integration patterns. We have modeled ourselves with best of the breed technology companies and fintech companies out there. So even the integration patterns are going to be very familiar to your developer team. So far, all the integration that we have been doing, we have not heard anything around, hey, it's too complex. It's actually sometimes it's too easy, which sometimes is scary. But we have done that legwork of abstracting all the complexity from the merchants.
Amazing. So just to take a step back and just to start, jumping in on some of the questions we've gotten. So Fareed has asked, while the focus has been mostly on payments in the context of open banking, what can the panel share about the wealth management space, specifically financial planning?
Anna, you want to take that?
Yeah, so Akoya is working with data providers out there in the wealth management space. But as far as financial planning is concerned, and I'm not sure if you meant personal financial planning, that is already there. That's one of the first use cases that Akoya tackled where our connections with the different banks out there provide you transactions, account information, balances, history, that you can then share with with fintechs out there to do your financial planning.
Yeah, and what I would add is like the thing that comes to mind is Mint. Like several years ago, Mint was that app where you could see everything, right? Right. Similar to that, right? With open banking, like if there is a data aggregator that wants to aggregate all the data in one particular interface or app, that's absolutely doable leveraging open banking. And then value-added service providers like us can actually create a portfolio for the customer using that data, like assets, liabilities, money going in, out, like all of that is available for value-added services providers to consume and generate a portfolio for customers. So totally doable, is already being done, as Anil is saying, in the open banking ecosystem.
Awesome. So we haven't got any other questions, and I'll give everyone a second to kind of collect their thoughts. I know these two guys provided us with a wealth of information. While we wait on some other questions, guys, is there anything, any kind of last thoughts, last comments, anything you feel like you weren't able to touch on?
I think what comes to mind is the unregulated aspect of the financial data sharing that is in place today. And there is a lot of work going on in the regulatory space, especially CFPB is working on rulemaking in the financial data space, and that'll go a long way to define what data is shared, when it is shared, the breadth of the data, how it is shared. So they're working on a lot of things. I think similar to UK and EU, that'll bring more structure to the financial data sharing space in the US.
I mean, Tori, nothing from my side to add.
Well, Rohit, I think I've got a great question for you here. So what do merchants get from turning on a pay by bank option for their customers? You know, the essential buying question, what's in it for them?
It actually, we are, like the way LinkPay is being set up, or pay by bank is set up, it is about reducing the interchange fee or killing the interchange fee, as I would like to call it, right? No, gone are the days when you have to pay 1.99%, 2.99% plus certain fixed transaction cost. The USP or the benefit for the merchant is that we can, like if they integrate pay by bank solution, we can start saving them almost 2% on every single transaction. The downturn is already here, if not almost, it's already here, right? So while the companies are not able to increase their top line, this gives an opportunity to impact their bottom line. So CFOs, maybe not revenue officers, but CFOs would love this solution because again, it impacts their bottom line. And we do it in a way where it's not like we are able to peek into customers' accounts, right? And again, consumer permission. So we are able to make intelligent decisions and save money for the merchants, and 2% or more on every single transaction.
Double the margins, double the fun. It's always the name of the game. But guys, just have another minute or so left. Anything you guys want to say as closing thoughts?
Anil, you want to take this?
No, I just want to say this was fun. It was great talking to you all. And if there's any questions, you can always reach out to us on Akoya, and happy to help.
Yeah, and I'll echo the same sentiments. I think this was probably a little bit less time what we would have anticipated. Like we can talk about open banking, but open banking is here to stay, right? Some of us people on this panel can be those people who lead open banking revolution in US. So time to embrace the change, time to embrace open banking and save some money for our merchants while we are doing it.
Absolutely love that. Well, You guys heard it here first. Open banking is here to stay. Looking forward to working with you both in the coming year and seeing what types of things and trends we're discussing next December. Thank you guys so much for joining, and thank you everyone for jumping on.
Thank you,
Thank
Tori.